So what is the legacy of Chaco Canyon, and why is it important to protect Chaco from development?
Well, Chaco Canyon, for those of us from the Pueblo people, it's a very significant part of our history, and of course, it's become a World Heritage site as well. And to me, you know, there's just certain places that we shouldn't develop. I'm not against oil or gas or anything. I think there's plenty of places that it's been drilled and it's been, developed. But when you're talking about a place that is such a significance, that goes back thousands of years, and even to this day, it's still a mystery as to what happened at that place and why people left. I mean, it's certainly, there's just a place for me. It's a significant place of spirituality. It's a significant place of our cultural connection to the people, to the spirits and to the people that once lived there. And to me, there's just places that we shouldn't develop at any cost.
It's not just Chaco Canyon, but also a much bigger area around Chaco that is under threat from fracking.
All right.
And what kind of protection do you think should be in place for the whole region?
Well, I think particularly around Chaco, you got the Chaco area. I mean, I would encourage, I think the BLM to really put a buffer around that area. That, that there should be no development. Because it's not just the sites themselves, but when you start flaring, and it's just the encroachment of these things that typically when you go to a place of that significance and solitude and the night skies and the stars, and I think people come to New Mexico to enjoy that richness of our culture and history. And for a moment, maybe share that space and time with the people, from several thousands of years ago. And if we lose that, then I think we've lost something very significant. And that's what I'm opposed to.
Currently, the BLM is saying that there's just exploratory drilling going on in the Menka Shale.
Mm-hmm.
But when we went out there, we saw production. We saw oil tankers actually at the fracking sites and moving oil. And are you concerned that there's not enough of a management plan in place currently?
Well, I don't know the detailed significance about how BLM does its leasing, what it's for. I understand, there's a lot of exploratory wells being drilled, whether they're actually transferring oil or just whatever they're drilling to test it. I don't know the intricacies of all of that, and so it's hard for me to comment on that. But certainly, if you're going to do that kind of development on that larger scale, I would imagine that there's something, planned in place. You just don't do this. You just don't wake up one day and say, well, we're going to do this. It's long-term planning. It's public lands. You have public input, the NEPA clearances, and all these things have to happen. And so whether those are in place, I don't really know. But certainly, if they're not, then something needs to happen pretty quickly.
So with the proposed Pinon pipeline, some experts say that it would quadruple the level of oil and gas drilling 4 times or more. What would that mean for the sacredness, the beauty, the integrity of the environment for the Chaco Canyon area?
I think the other part too is not just the landscape itself, but I don't understand, and I don't from a business standpoint, the barrel of gas is so low. Why would anyone have developed it at this moment in time?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. A few years ago, we were going to be out of oil. 5 years later, we had too much. And so, from the business side of things, I don't understand why one would even put money in there when you're not going to make that kind of money. Perhaps 10 years ago you might have. But now, the economics, I think, are saying that, it's the price of barrel is below $50, a barrel, and it doesn't make business sense. But beyond that, I think just the tearing up and the huge parts of, our lands in ways that are going to be irreparable or something that I think, we need to look at.
And the issue of flaring, you read about that in your opinion piece in the New Mexican. Why is that important, both for the environment and the economy?
Well, as a state, we don't get any revenues from, oil and gas that isn't developed. And so that's the loss to the taxpayers and tribes who are, allowing these companies to flare or vent. And so when we're not capturing, that amount of gas for whatever it's, then that's a loss to our taxpayers and our tribes. And so that was my opinion piece, is that we need to look at that. What is the true cost? If it's costed us, if it has costed us around $40+ million in the last, since 2009, then that's significant, particularly, when we have the state of affairs of our economy and not enough. If we're going to waste that much in flaring and venting because we don't have the technology to capture it, perhaps it's best to just leave it there for our future generations. So when they come up with the technology, perhaps they can utilize 100% of it and not waste a significant amount of a resource that's never going to be replaced again.
And just put it into the environment where it's a very potent greenhouse gas.
Right. It contributes to the methane and everything else that we're tackling right now.
So talk about, you have a memorial addressing this issue?
Right. I've introduced a memorial that I believe is going to be heard this Wednesday in Senate Rules that is asking, Department of Finance, Indian Affairs, Environment, and I believe the Natural Resources Department to look at this whole issue of flaring and venting, to have them come back to us and say, what is really going on and how much are we really losing, because none of us really know, and so that's really the memorial, is to put some focus on that and give us some data and some answers so that we can make the right decisions about, going forward.
Thank you so much, Senator Shendo, for talking to Clear Air Media. We were out in that area, in the Liebach area. Last Sunday, we saw a few of the giant flares and fracking sites. We've had those videos on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.